The January 6th insurrectionists, some of whom beat police officers that day, I think we don't need to go back and talk about what took place on January 6th. I think most of you understand. But Donald Trump has made blatant statements that he wants to give pardons to all these people. And the question is, well, what about violent criminals? Now, the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world and many on the far right believe everybody should get a pardon, which is absurd. But I want you to listen to what J.D. Vance said on television over the weekend in regards to the violent criminals on January 6th. Have a listen to this.
President Trump says there's a process. Where is the line drawn on who will and wouldn't be considered for a pardon?
I think it's very simple. Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. Well, I would assume he means those that beat police officers, those that bear sprayed officers, right? I would assume that's what he means by that. There's a lot of people that are very, very upset at those comments that J.D. Vance made. I actually agree with J.D. Vance as far as the violence goes. Of course they shouldn't be pardoned. So I want you to listen to January 6th inmate Jake Long, who thought that he was going to be out of jail next week with a Trump pardon. And he's certainly not happy about J.D. Vance saying that Trump will only pardon non-violent January 6ers. Now, keep in mind that this guy is charged with assaulting police and says it's not what Donald Trump promised him while he was campaigning. Well, join the club because Donald Trump makes a lot of promises that he doesn't fulfill. But have a listen to January 6th inmate Jake Lang that actually assaulted police officers on January 6th.
Name one Jan 6er that was offered a fair trial in Washington, D.C., or that was not selectively prosecuted by the corrupt federal prosecutor's office, the George Soros prosecutors that let the Antifa and Black Lives Matter and Hamas rioters go free while they hunted us down and used the DOJ to destroy our lives. So if you're going to start nitpicking between which Jan 6ers can stay and which ones can go home on day one, January 20th, in 8 days, then we're going to need answers into which one of us had a fair due process of law. Because as of right now, all of us have been railroaded in a two-tiered justice system, a persecution, a witch hunt. And I think the American people know that. And that's why they're calling out for every single Jan 6er to be pardoned on day one.
No, let me be very clear. Most reasonable people in this country with an IQ over 20 do not know that. They don't believe that. It's very simple. George Soros didn't force you to assault police officers. You had your due process. You were in court. Some of you pled guilty. Some of you had plea deals. You were caught on video physically assaulting police officers that day. You belong in jail far longer than you've been in thus far. One of the worst crimes you could commit is physically assaulting a police officer. And many people did that day. There are several hundred people that are still in jail. Now, if you want to have a conversation of people that, went into the Capitol, but they didn't commit any violent acts, no destruction of property. If any of those people are still behind bars, then maybe they have a case. But if you physically assaulted a police officer, I agree with J.D. Vance. Donald Trump will never say what J.D. Vance said. He will never say on the record, we will not pardon violent criminals on January 6th, because Donald Trump is a coward. Now, I think J.D. Vance is a coward as well, and I think he slipped up a little bit. But again, J.D. Vance sometimes tells the truth. For example, Donald Trump may be the next American Adolf Hitler. We remember when J.D. Vance said that? Sometimes J.D. Vance tells the truth. Occasionally, you have Republicans that tell the truth. Marco Rubio, Ted Cruz, when they were running against Donald Trump, he's incompetent. He's unfit for office. He can't get anywhere near the White House. He's a habitual liar. Sometimes they tell the truth when it's convenient for them. But then, when it's not convenient for them, now maybe J.D. Vance will walk back his words. I don't know. What I do know is he did an interview over the weekend, about a week before Donald Trump gets into office again, and he said, if you committed a violent act, you shouldn't be pardoned. You will not be pardoned. A violent act is attacking police officers, assaulting police officers. destruction of property, you name it. So I would imagine that is what he is talking about. And there's probably a lot of people that would disagree with that, including Marjorie Taylor Greene, who probably thinks that Jewish space lasers are responsible for the wildfires in California.